This is an extract from the Leader podcast by the Evening Standard, hosted by me, David Marsland. To hear the whole thing, search for us on your podcast provider.
A tearful Kanye West took the stage in Charleston, South Carolina on Sunday in his first presidential campaign rally that did little to clarify whether his bid for America's highest office was genuine. Wearing a bulletproof vest with 2020 shaved into his hair, West's rambling address to hundreds of supporters touched on abortion, giving women $1 million for having a baby, and included a rant against historical figure Harriet Tubman. But is this all just a promotional stunt? Or could West's campaign have an impact on the result? Natasha Lindstaedt from the Department of Government at the University of Essex joins me now. Natasha, is this a legitimate run for the presidency?
He is just one of these people that likes to get attention, and this is just one of these attempts to get attention. I think that he is generally a very political person as he's become more in the public eye about political matters. In fact, the first time he was talking about politics was after Hurricane Katrina, and there was a big fundraiser, and he went on stage and he said that President George Bush Jr. at the time didn't like Black people. One of his early political statements. He seemed to be someone whose policies, if you want to call it that, were more aligned with the Democratic Party. But then he did some sort of about-face and just felt that the Democrats weren't helping out African Americans, that they were neglecting them and just assuming that African American voters would just vote for them, vote for the Democrats no matter what. And he aligned himself with Trump. And then very recently, he just said he was going to be running for president. He made the announcement at a big music show. I think that announcement was met with sort of gasps, as people couldn't really believe this was true, but it did get a lot of attention. And I think this is really all about being in the news, being relevant. He likes to do things to shock, to be in the public eye, and this is definitely one of those things that is going to get him a lot of attention, similar to what Donald Trump has done many times before, where he would make these announcements that he was going to run for president, and that helped him be more relevant at times when his entertainment career wasn't doing well.
And if his campaign did have legs for some reason, is it likely he'll impact the election result in some way?
I can't imagine he's going to impact the election result in any way. I think that right now there is a concerted effort to defeat Trump. So even people who might not be huge fans of Joe Biden are going to vote for Joe Biden because they feel that Donald Trump is such a danger to the US at this moment that every effort needs to be placed in voting him out of office. There's even concerns that he might not leave. But I think that with the coronavirus and the way he's handled it, and that he has 2/3 of the public thereabouts feeling very disappointed with the way he's handled the coronavirus and actually thinking that he has been dangerous in the way he's handled it and cost hundreds of thousands of US lives, there's the feeling that you can't take this risk. So in 2004, this was a really big election between Bush Jr. and John Kerry, and a lot of votes went to a third party candidate, Ralph Nader. And I think there were a lot of lessons learned from that experience for a lot of the Democrats. There was also the feeling that when Michael Bloomberg came onto the scene, that this wouldn't be a good thing. He was coming on as a Democrat, of course, trying to win the Democratic nomination, but there was a feeling that the Democrats need to get around one particular candidate. And so there may be people who vote for Kanye West, but he's going to have a really difficult time because he's going to need tens of thousands of signatures to get on the ballot in all states, or he's going to need the backing of a small party. So really, his chances of winning are almost zero.
There's almost a similar tone here to Donald Trump's campaign. There was an element there that he got a lot of media attention because he was this controversial, unconventional candidate and figure. Do you think the same thing could happen with Kanye West in that he will appear in the media all the time because he does or says outrageous things?
He will always be able to figure out a way to get attention, and he's always done that. And lately, his businesses haven't been doing very well. This is definitely an attempt to get attention, but he really isn't a serious candidate. Some of this is that he has absolutely no political experience. I mean, you could say the same for Donald Trump, but in Donald Trump's case, he's run for president or announced that he's going to run for president many times. And he's sort of dabbled in politics in the way that he's been a big donor for both Democrats and Republicans, and just in working in, the construction and industry and the hotel industry. There's a little bit more of in common there than someone coming from the music industry. Now, we've seen musicians succeed and become, successful politicians. We've seen actors do so, but usually they need to pay their dues a little bit more and be more involved in promoting political issues, supporting particular charities or NGOs. Actually, his wife is better prepared, Kim Kardashian, given all the work that she's done advocating on behalf of people put in prison in unjust ways and serving unjust sentences. And she was one of the key factors that enabled Trump to pardon a key African-American woman who had been placed in prison for decades for selling marijuana. But if you actually hear about what his policies are, which are almost incoherent, I mean, really difficult to understand what he actually even stands for. Where he's been somewhat successful is through this church and the use of a big choir and trying to congregate people together and focus on togetherness and community. And that's actually been successful and popular. And so it may be that these events are very musical and they're working on community and bringing people together in these very difficult times. But other than that, he doesn't really have any kind of clear political agenda.